Women Studies Research Center at the University of Nairobi. How do you see this report contributing to your work? And what does this new evidence mean in terms of us pushing African governments to prioritize gender equality in their policies, programs, and strategies? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Karia. And all protocols observed. I think my colleague here, I listened to her and I forgot what I was supposed to say. Yeah, because I was following her and feeling, yes, we need to do something. 7 years is a very short time, to 2030. But let me say, African Women Studies Center is a multidisciplinary research center. That's another story I'll share with you someday, how we established it in 2011 after 3 years of struggle to prove, first of all, African women, and we are told, even at the Senate, women are the same. So why African women? I said, because we are not Americans, and we are not taking us backwards. We are now in gender, we are not in women. So, but the professor said, they said, let's postpone it and study it again for a longer time. And he said, this is the third time it is being tabled. If we're professors, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to read and come and make a decision. But of course, they hadn't read. So when I presented, there were no questions, and it was passed. So I know when you said you have to be courageous, it's a very, when I retired, we were restructuring the university, and again, some of the divisions were supposed to disappear. And of course, African Women Studies was being married to Institute of, Gender Anthropology and African Studies. And then, so we were told, that you move from here to here, so the center will be dissolved. I wasn't actually at this meeting, but somebody had sent me the link, it was during COVID. So I was just listening to this and marveling. The women, beginning with very strong women, Maria Nzomo, Nancy Baraza, Kiriti and so on, they said, that one is not going to go. They refused. And I'm telling you, you listen to these women, and they were not benefiting directly from it. They belong to their own department. But that tells you how, when women believe in something, they will make sacrifices. And I think that story of African Women Studies is a story that sometimes I want to tell, because I think when you believe in something, it will happen. And I think this is what is happening. I said it's a multidisciplinary center, so we have actually researchers from all the not the departments, even the faculties, and agriculture, veterinary sciences, medicine, and so on. And we engage primarily on research for policy advocacy, and also research that is informed by women's experiences. I am, like you heard, I'm a storyteller, I'm in oral literature, so I may not even present anything. So, but we have a lot of strong people. Our research director, by the way, is here, Dr. Bibi, please stand. She's an agroeconomist, so she's the one who should be talking about this. But thank you, Dr. Bibi. She's actually the director of the Women Economic Empowerment Hub, which is doing very well, and we have a lot of policy advocacy work. Ayo, where are you? Ayo Diko is actually a member of the We Hub as well, and Emily, she's there. Emily is also a member, and one of the leaders of the secretariat is Ruth. I think she's somewhere, she's there. So I think, so I brought the team so that the questions I'm not able to answer, and they belong to different disciplines, we can answer. So thank you very much. I am really very happy to be here, and I want to appreciate this report. Again, because we cannot say we feel or we think, because we live in a world where we are talking about the knowledge economy. And the statistics in this report is really powerful. I'm saying this because I've seen, you can invest, in the Agrifood Systems, and you can actually calculate the rise of the GDP. You can talk about how investing in this particular sector, you can talk about how you can reduce poverty in figures. because a lot of these policy makers, many of them, economists and lawyers and so on today, they are looking for data. And we have been working with the policy makers now for the last 13 years. And the first time I remember when we did food security report in 27 counties, and we were having negotiations with the parliamentarians. The first question was, how can Kisii be food insecure? Because you see, that is not in the traditional research. How can Kisii be insecure? Because Kisii actually is insecure. They forget that the distribution of land into very small pieces has in itself contributed to food insecurity. But we found that discussion was in the papers and everywhere, with people from Kisii saying, yes, we are poor. How can parts of Murang'a, which is just near Nairobi, also have people who are very poor, and so on? The best county, of course, was Kirinyaga. But Kirinyaga also has the lowest fertility rate. So you can connect maybe some of these things. So it was very interesting that some of the members of parliament were just asking, why did you leave out my county? Because now I would know where we are. And we had to say that this applies also to your county because of the research process that we have gone through, because of the selection criteria and so on. And then, of course, if you are a women's study center, you make sure you work with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, because people will believe you. When we go to economists, I don't speak. I introduce my economists. They speak. Because they're economists, they know, even when they don't know. If you're talking to lawyers or parliamentarians, you bring your lawyers because they know, and even if they don't know, they think they know. So I think sometimes it's being strategic in terms of policy influence. So I think this is a fantastic report. We are very happy with this data, and because we are an African Women Study Center, we love the fact that we can actually compare the different countries on a sector that is very, very critical. You can be sure we are going to begin disseminating it ourselves because it is in our interest. We are always looking at the fiscal policies. We are looking at the gender, at the budget itself. In fact, currently we are working with economic affairs, to look at the budget. This is the current budget. And there are areas that we focus on. Agriculture is one of them. Now we are also going to improve on our presentations. We are going to focus on this particular sector because we would like to join you for the 7 years that are to come to show that actually women can do much more, not just in production, but also in the other areas. We are also actually working in, in terms of entrepreneurship. We are working with the program that Dr. Bidi is leading. We have a number of incubation projects that we are incubating and individual businesses, and many of them are doing agribusiness. And I think we are saying that this incubation is going to give us the opportunities actually to understand how women need to be supported for their business to grow. We can share some of this maybe someday, but maybe not at this meeting. 5 minutes is so little, but 5 minutes plus 2 is too little. What we want to say. But we think it is. We have data that we are also going to use to push this particular sector in all ways, whether it is in agribusiness or whether it is in value addition, which we are actually doing in collaboration with the KIE, the Kenya Industrial Estate, and KIFD, the Kenya Industrial Research Center, and also University of Nairobi, the Innovation Department, Innovation Center, and the department also dealing with climate change and so on. So this research for us is not just a research that is going to go into the, into the library. It's a research that we are going to hear. Of course, we will be quoting you. We will be saying FAO. According to FAO, we will not say it is our research. It's an FAO research. And we honor the, and protect the interests and the rights, of the producers of this report. But it's a very powerful report. It's going to be very useful for us in policy advocacy. We are currently actually working with the Treasury and with the PP, the Public Procurement Department, because we have a major program called ACPO, for Kenyans they would know, where 30% of of the resources are supposed to go to women, persons with disability, and youth. And of course, when you talk about youth, you forget that they are young women. Women are always put together. But when you come to youth, many times you deal with the men. But we are looking at that as well. So, I have my 2 minutes are I'm trying to finish. So we are actually very happy about this. It's going to be a very, very important document. And we will begin by the way sharing some of this information. Not ourselves, we probably, if you are with us, we can also do that. Because we are trying to do a side event for the climate change, climate action week. And one of the things that we wanted to do, it's actually about African women. It's African women and climate change, which is related to biodiversity, to agriculture, to everything that we have. That we are talking about here. And I think that is going to be very important. Now, in terms of transformative strategies, because I think we have talked about it, we are working on a project on child care. Dr. Bibi will say more about it when she gets an opportunity during the discussions. And we are learning that child care work, if taken away from the women, they can produce a lot. We have statistics that show the women in cross-border trade have more time, even to cross from Kenya to Uganda to buy more goods. They actually have, within 1 year, they have actually given us statistics that show how their business have grown because we have created the child care center in Busia at the border. So they leave their children at the border. But much more importantly, because the women now have a place to leave the children and they have to go and do bigger things, the husbands have started taking the children to the child care center. And what is even more important is that they have stopped being the women's. We started with 50, they have now gone to 100 because the public servants want to take their children to that child care center as well, because they have no place and because you don't even want your people, if you are a member of parliament, to know that they are so poor, and you put the information in the papers and you are not doing anything about it. And it is we have found that statistics make a lot of difference. We have actually done some work, and we are doing done some work with the Treasury over credit, credit guarantee scheme, where, by the way, the women have also been able to get credit. But before getting there, the law was actually being passed without the provision to support women and other disadvantaged groups. Until we actually called there was a new, the current governor of Homa Bay, Wanga, Gladys Wanga. She had just been appointed, to be the chair of that, also of the accounts committee, the finance committee in parliament. So we called her and said, we have just read this document. The government is giving credit to small business people, SMEs, but the women are not there, and it's a support for COVID. And then she just said, Professor, I am chairing that meeting this afternoon, and that provision is going to be there. And it happened. She put the provision and then added that Treasury should actually give statistical information, gender disaggregated information to Parliament as they report. And so I think there's a sense in which, if it's a difficult thing, but I think Parliament and the policymakers, whether they're in government or in the National Assembly, they need the data. They need to see that actually what you're talking about, you have evidence. And I think we have a lot of evidence in this report. That's why I love it.
Thank you so much, Professor. Yes, we should. I think we have to close, but before we close, I want to